Welcome to the Find My Catalyst podcast. We all have problems we're looking to solve, and we know that there are solutions out there, but we struggle with it. How do we find the solution? Where's the nudge come from to help us take the next step and start solving tough problems? This podcast is designed to help you find your catalyst and take that next step. I'm Mike Simmons. I'm the founder of Catalyst Sale. This podcast is brought to you by the Catalyst Sale Game Plan. It is our approach to goal setting and execution. If you head to catalystsale.com/game, you can find out more information. My catalyst today is Jason Vana. Jason is the founder of SHFT Marketing and an expert in branding. Jason, it is awesome to see you. Although now I'm going to timestamp the episode, which is not a good thing. This is the second time that I've seen you probably in the last 2.5 weeks. We had a conversation where off the back of me going through your lead gen form, your demand gen form, and we had a conversation about branding. Why is branding important to you?
That's a good question. Branding, whether it's important to me or not, I'm very passionate about branding. One, because it is identity. If you boil brand down to its essential, it's really just being known for something that people care about. And if you relate that to an individual person, that's your identity, it's your personality, it's who you are. And that's something I've always been passionate about, whether it's from the business side, the personal side. And so branding is how you help a business uncover, who are you? What is your potential? What are the things that you're not seeing about yourself that you really should be highlighting? Because that's what's going to attract the right people to you. And so, as we've worked with brand clients through SHFT, what's happened is every single client we've worked with has had what we call this aha moment where, if you're running a business, especially, you're a technical founder or you're not a marketing or sales person, which, let's be honest, I'm not a salesperson. If I wasn't a marketing person, I don't know how well SHFT would be doing. You need to understand marketing and sales in order to really grow your business. But you have in the brand process, you end up getting these aha moments that shape the whole direction of your company. And we've seen some of the companies we've worked with have had such deep aha moments that it's really pivoted their entire business and what they focused on and what's on their website and what they tell people about. And from that, they're really focusing on what their ideal customers care about. And so all of a sudden, what's happening now is instead of it being we're the best blank, we're the best SaaS platform, we're the best business provider, whatever that might be, we're the best. All of a sudden, we don't have to do a lot. People are finding us and coming to us because we've got that right message, that right identity, that right personality to put out that people say, that's what I want. And getting a founder or getting a VP of marketing or a CEO or, however your business is structured, getting someone like that to truly understand, this is what people actually care about with your business. I know you've got a 10-year story and you went to college and you started this in your dorm room. People don't give a rip as much as you do. This is what they care about. And when business owners have that aha moment of this all makes, it's almost like we'll sit in these workshops and you can see the light bulbs and you can see all the dots connecting. And all of a sudden it's I get it. And those are the moments that that's what me and my business partner, Steph Egger, that's what we live for, is having these business owners have those moments where it's wait a minute, this is all starting to come together and I actually understand what I need to do to move forward. They're brilliant. And that's why, to answer that first question, that's why branding is so important to me, is it's those moments of clarity. Because ultimately, if you think about it, being able to understand who you're going after and how to go after them, that's going to help any business owner really achieve the dream that they're after. Whatever they're after with their business, however big they want to get it, whatever that lifestyle is. Because let's be honest, you don't start a business because you're I want to be locked in an office for 8 hours a day. Usually when you start a business, it's because you're passionate about it or you're passionate about the lifestyle that could come with it. And really what branding does is helps those business owners achieve that dream of whatever it is that dream, whatever it is their dream is. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, is it's not just a marketing tactic. It's not just, hey, do this, spend some money on it, it'll make you sound better. It really is the foundation to help them achieve the dream that they're going after. And that's that's what we love doing at Shift. So that's why I love branding.
It sounds like it's a lot more than colors and logos.
Oh, so much more. This is what most business owners don't understand. And I'm going to probably throw some people under the bus. I'm going to blame a lot of marketers and a lot of designers for this. So I've been in the marketing and graphic design realm for 20 years. And what tends to happen is you go to get a website built for your company and they're like, we can also build your brand. And what they mean by that is I can design a logo for you, choose your colors, choose your fonts. And so what's happened for most people, even marketers, which I don't understand why they have this perception of branding is logos, fonts, and colors. It's a look. Or if you're more progressive, it's a message or it's a feeling or perception, like the great Jeff Bezos quote of a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Mm-hmm. And all those pieces are actually that. Pieces or components of a brand, but that's not really what a brand is. And so at Shift, what we say is a brand really is being known for something that people care about. That's how we define brand. But there's really three terms here that a lot of business owners and a lot of marketers, even myself, have used interchangeably when they're really not interchangeably. And Steph yells at me all the time when I do this. And I did a LinkedIn post about it. So I'm going to yell at your audience here and be like, these are not interchangeable words. A brand is that identity. It's being known for something that people care about. Branding is the process or the steps you take to build that perception, to build that identity. So branding would be, you're going to get a logo, you're going to get fonts. Branding is going to be the content you put out. Branding is going to be doing a deep dive on your ideal customers. And what is that messaging? Branding are the steps. And then a brand strategy is that foundation that everything else in your business should be built on. So we at Shift, we do brand strategy and branding, meaning we come in and we help a client uncover who is our ideal customers. So most businesses have customers, but who are the ones that you're like, if I could have every client be like these three, I would make more money. I would enjoy my job. Like my team would just be like, we love these people. These are the ones we want to work with, instead of the ones that are like, good Lord, why did we take on this client? Let's shoot them, like shoot me in the head because they're horrible to work with. So we help you uncover who those ideal clients are. And this is part of brand strategy, really not just the demographics of this is their job title, this is how old they are, this is where they're at, but really what are their aims for their business? What are their goals? What is the experience they want? What is their motivation? So like, what's actually going to cause them to finally say, yes, I want your solution? Because really, if you think about it, going down a little tangent here, but if you think about it, every business thinks like, you need my solution. This is perfect. But your competition is not just the other businesses that offer your service. Your competition is also their unwillingness to change. So if you don't know the motivation that's going to get them to say, I'm going to become uncomfortable, I'm going to stop. And this is what people don't realize. People are comfortable with pain. This may be a difficult process for me to do in my business, but I know that process and it's comfortable because I understand it. And yes, I might have to jump through 23 different hoops and tasks to get it done, but I know it. And so you're not just competing against, hey, someone else has a better platform. You are literally competing against, I've got a process I follow and I am hesitant to change that because I don't know. There's going to be a lot of relearning, changing a bunch of stuff. There's a lot that you're actually competing against. And if you don't know the motivation that's going to get someone to say, I don't need to keep working, doing the way I'm doing it. I can be uncomfortable for a season while I learn doing it this way. If you don't know that motivation, doesn't matter how great your solution is, they're not going to move if you're not addressing that motivation. And so that's what I mean by understanding your ideal customer. And then it's discovering what is that uniqueness? What is the thing that really sets you apart that only you do that no one else can provide? And what I've seen from 99.9% of the companies out there, like I do brand messaging assessments. I do over 100 of them a year, all B2B companies, a mix of SaaS and B2B service. I have yet to find one that actually is clear. This is the benefit I get. This is why I want to work with you. Like, if you think about it, and I do this in our discovery calls, I'll look at your website and be like, okay, here's the messaging you're saying. I can jump on Google right now and find 100,000 of your competitors like that. So if you have not very clearly communicated to me why you, it doesn't matter how fancy your website is, doesn't matter how great your platform is or your product or your service is. If you cannot communicate to me why you succinctly within less than 10 seconds of being on your website, you've lost me. And that's what people don't realize is your competitors are not just the 5 that you've indicated. Your competitors are anyone that I can find on Google in that same solution. Like, it may not be an exact competitor to you, but I can find competitors. I can find thousands within seconds. So you really need to be able to communicate to me what sets you apart, and not just communicate. See, a lot of times this is the level we think a brand is it's colors or it's a message. Like, brand is just what I put up on the website and it makes it clear. A brand really is, how do you take that uniqueness then and implement it throughout every aspect of your business? So how is it impacting your sales team? How is it impacting your marketing? How is it impacting your product? Like, if you're saying one thing about your product and then I jump in and it's clunky and it's hard to understand, that's a branding issue. You have not fully developed your product to meet the needs of your ideal customers. It's your customer service. It is how do you answer? Like, I know a lot of companies don't necessarily have receptionists anymore, but it's how your receptionist answers the phone. If she sounds like happy and excited, or if he sounds like grumpy and like, what do you want? Like that, all of those things are a branding decision, because anytime I interact with you, I'm building a perception of you. And so one thing, I've even said it to some clients this way: your brand is how quickly you empty the garbage cans in your office. So if I walk into your office, if you have like a physical location, I'm a client, I walk in and I see that the garbage can next to your receptionist desk is overflowing, what that tells me is you guys don't have your crap together. If you can't handle taking out a garbage can, why can I handle or trust you to handle my business and my money if you can't do something as simple as that? Like, now that doesn't mean as a client, I'm looking at that and immediately going, well, they can't handle it. But it's the little things like that that build up and say, hey, this is the overall perception I have of this company. Is it good or bad? And your brand strategy addresses all of that to say, no matter where they have a touch point with us, no matter where they interact with us, if it's on social, if it's in person, if it's on the phone, no matter where they come in contact with us, we want them to know this is what sets us apart. This is our personality. This is why you can trust us. And that comes through, think normal relationships. That comes through just interactions. I don't have to sit here and state to you, you can trust me. It's, you've seen the steps, you've seen or you had interactions with me, and I've proven it. Same with the brand strategy. And that's what people don't understand is they think brand is just this, it's a marketing thing, so we don't need to worry about it. Brand, if you do a brand strategy correctly, what will happen is your brand strategy and your business strategy will intermingle so much that you won't actually know which one is which. That your brand strategy should drive and affect your business strategy to the point that you could not pull them apart and say, well, this is brand and this is business strategy. They really are so intertwined that you're like, how we develop our product is a branding tactic, because it is a perception people are going to have about us. And like, if you think about it, that deep understanding of your ideal customers, like I talk to technical owners a lot, like, because we work with SaaS companies as well. And what tends to happen is they are very product focused. Well, our product can do this, 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 and this. And then we talk to their ideal customers and I'm like, they don't care about this, this, and this. So why are you featuring it? Why are you putting all of your marketing behind this one feature that we talked to your ideal customers and they said, we don't give a rip about that feature. As a product developer, you're gaga over it. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Look at what we can do. And your ideal customers are like, so what? You can't do the one thing I want you to do. I don't care about this. And so that deep understanding of your ideal customers affects how you develop your product and what phases you do in the different iterations and how you build it out and what features get added next. It is when you deeply understand your ideal customers, which is a brand tactic, it affects everything. And I guess I kind of forgot the question you asked. I just kind of
we got into the whole like why it's important, and then or why you're passionate about it, and that turned into some of the why it's important, and also hit on a number of the common mistakes that organizations make. We get so excited about product, and we want to talk about that feature, benefit, or the solution. We forget about going really deep into the problem that the person on the other end has, and then the experience that we're creating. And I really like how you reinforce the importance of alignment across all of the interactions that happen and the impact that has on trust that is built over time with organizations. Because if your brand says something, but your experience is completely different, all of a sudden people are like, well, I don't know that you're actually going to be able to do the thing that you say you're going to do. So I'm going to move on to somebody else. And
right.
So I think one of the questions that's going on in my mind, and just as we unpack some of the pieces that we've talked about so far, is if we as human beings struggle with understanding our own identity, how can we expect our organization to not struggle with understanding its own identity, which reinforces why this is such a challenging problem that organizations struggle with. And it's okay. There are solutions out there. Is that fair?
It is. Like, I think what happens is people come to an idea of a brand and they think once you have it, and never change it.
Yeah.
And a brand, and really, let's even go down to the nitty gritty, your buyer persona. Like, so you built out this customer file that you've got all the information on your daily customers. We call that at Shift a living document. In other words, what that means is every interaction you have with clients, like as you bring on new clients and more clients, that maybe right now your ideal client is XYZ, but maybe 3 years down the road, you're like, those are the clients that we want the least because they bring in so little money. But now we've got these clients that are so much bigger. We can hit their needs so much more. Like, as your understanding of your ideal customers grows and changes, so does then your customer file, which then means your messaging is going to tweak and the experience you provide is going to tweak. So a brand is like a normal identity where as you uncover more and more about yourself, as you go into different seasons, as you grow and evolve as a business, so too should your brand. And we've experienced this at Shift. Like, we've technically been around, or not technically, legally been around for about a year and a half. Technically, I've been doing work on the side for other companies for decades, but LLC was formed like end of 2019. So little over a year and a half, we've been actually around. And if you would have asked me last March, who was our ideal customer, compared to this March, who was our ideal customer, completely different. Because we grew a lot in that year and we changed our processes and we adapted and we grew and we tweaked and we realized like, hey, we can provide a better experience if we do this, this, and this. And so this evolves. And then all of a sudden, because we changed it, now we're pulling in companies that are like, 5-6 times the size of the companies we were pulling in back in March. And so our customer file has changed, which meant our messaging has changed. And we're working on a brand new website that is going to have a whole different feel and look and kind of personality that comes through it in a different focus because we're not who we were back in March. And I think like what happens, especially for technical founders, is I'm going to pay a marketing company, build my brand. I'm going to keep focusing on product. And they don't realize that as your company grows, your brand and that personality, that identity needs to grow as well. Otherwise, what happens is exactly what you said is I've got this message out there and this personality out there. But now when you're working with me, I'm actually targeting a completely different demographic or a higher demographic or larger clients. And this message and this look that's out there doesn't actually fit them like fit the people I'm going after anymore. It was designed to fit this lower level that I started with. And so a brand needs to evolve and change. And so I think, if you would have asked 10 years ago, the prevailing wisdom was every 7 years doing a brand evaluation to make sure that everything's on target. Now I would say, just with the speed of like how fast companies are growing and, the reach you can get because of social media and all of that. Now I would say like every 2 years, do a brand evaluation, make sure that your customer file, like your understanding of your ideal customers is accurate. Like in the process, every year you should be doing interviews with ideal customers and getting that level of understanding from them and updating whatever's changed. And so we've got this process. Every client we work with, when we are done working with them, we give it about a month or two, we contact them and we just are like, can we just pick your brain? And we want to see, like, was there anything we could have done better? Like, so we ask about that, but then we're also asking, what kind of results did you get? Like, how has that shaped your business? And really, not only does that help us build like case studies and testimonials and stuff. So we've got social proof, like, hey, this actually works. But what it does is it helps us understand the onboarding process was a little rough. Okay, we need to fix that process so people have a better experience. Or maybe it was offboarding, or maybe it was like the way you delivered the document didn't make sense to me. Great. So we're constantly getting this feedback from people and allowing us to then pick their brain and ask, why is that important to you? So then we have this growing knowledge of our ideal customers, and it changes how we do what we do and how we talk about what we do.
So you talked a little bit about timing and frequency and the importance of revisiting this on a continuous basis. What are some of the questions that we should be asking above and beyond some of the ones that you gave around what you're asking your customers? What are some of the questions, and they may end up being the same, what are some of the questions we should be asking our customers, our prospects, our people inside the organization, ourselves as we reflect? What are some just initial questions, hard questions that we struggle with? What are some initial questions we can ask ourselves as we reflect on this periodically or start to shift our understanding of how things are shifting in the marketplace?
Yeah. So when you're talking to your current customers or like former customers, whenever you are having that conversation,
yep.
One of the biggest questions that we tell people to ask is, one, why did you choose us?
Yep.
What problems were you encountering before you started working with us?
Okay.
What pain point did we solve for you? Like, how did our product actually deliver, or did it deliver? Like, sometimes that's a question to ask. And then when you get these answers, don't just settle for the first response. Because some people, I ask them, like, why did you choose us? Well, I just like your personality. Great. I love that you love my personality. And yes, that is going to be a reason why you work with us. But there is a much deeper reason. And I cannot build my brand around saying, hey, if you like Jason, work with us. Like, that's not a good brand. And so we always ask the question, why does that matter to you? And what that does is you keep asking every answer they give. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? What'll happen is you'll actually get down to the real reason why they chose you. The real nugget of like, this is why against all the competition we went with you. So that question, why does it matter, is extremely important externally and internally with your own team. Looking internally, the questions to ask would be like, are we actually delivering what we're promising? And you get that answer by talking to your ideal customers, but also like, well, I think what happens, especially as founders, is we think we've got it all figured out and everyone else on our team is just employees. And really what we've done, like in our brand strategy process, is we bring everyone in the room. You've got C-suite, you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got product, you've got customer service, like however big your company is, we ask for one person from kind of each main important department in there, because what happens is your sales team probably has a very different understanding of your ideal customers than your CEO. And your product team maybe hears some of the complaints from customers because they're in there switching stuff that your marketing team doesn't know. And so your marketing team might be out there saying, yeah, this is so great. And your product team is like, no, it's not. And that's why a lot of marketers have this like perception about them that they're just making everything sound much better than it is, because they've maybe been told this feature is going to be awesome, but they don't get that feedback of, yeah, it's actually not working the way we thought it was going to work. And so we need to still work on it, but they're still out there promoting it as this is really great. And so bringing everyone in the room and having those hard conversations of like, okay, what have you found out about our ideal customers this month? Like what are the prevailing questions that are coming up? What are the pain points? Like, is it still the same? And so asking those questions of everyone on the team, like your team meetings, whether maybe not every week, but once a quarter, your entire team should be sitting down and really sharing some like, hey, I was on a sales call and they said these 3 things. Like, there's a new competitor out there that is doing things better than we are. How are we going to address this? Like, your CEO may not know that, but your junior salesperson might. And so bringing everyone together and just diving into like, okay, this message we're sending out, is it still accurate? Is it still true? And some of the ways you're going to find out if your brand is working is by the number of inbound leads you're getting. So if you're putting out now, inbound leads requires that you're doing something. You can't just like put up a website and be like, people are finding me.
If you build it, they won't come. That's not the whole, that doesn't work that way. Okay.
And so many technical founders, it's so funny because they're like, well, we've got a website. Great. That doesn't mean I'm going to find it or know about it or know you exist. Like, there's things you have to do. But if you're doing like SEO, you're putting content out there. If people are coming back to your website and they're not converting, you've got a brand issue. That means that the messaging, the focus, the uniqueness that you're putting out there is not actually connecting with either the people that are coming, or you're attracting the wrong people because you don't really know who you're going after. It's usually one of those 2 things. Either you're pulling in the right people, but you got the wrong message, or you're pulling in the wrong people and the message shouldn't connect with the wrong people. And so evaluating that, like, do people know about you? Are your clients, your current customers, are they referring you? And those are the kind of questions that people they wait until there's a problem to start asking. And if you start asking now, you can avoid having the problem.
It really highlights the importance of internal team communication, the realization that everybody has a slightly different perspective on the broader challenge that's being solved. And if you can take advantage of those perspectives, you can overcome some blind spots that we all have inside our business. And it's amazing what will happen when you bring people together and start asking those questions. One of the challenges I've seen with this is when you bring those people together and then someone takes over the conversation. The CEO is the only person that answers, or the head of product is the only person that answers. And then people start to look around the room and wonder, well, why are we all here? Like, that's not right. That's not what I'm actually seeing in the market, but I'm also not going to raise my hand and say, hey, CEO, you're wrong. Something shifted. Right. I'm seeing something different. So how can we facilitate better discussions inside the organization so that we don't run into that challenge of people kind of sitting on their hands or staying quiet or just nodding and smiling, but not being transparent with the team?
Right. That really comes down to your leadership team. And this was before you asked this question, I was actually going to go here anyway. So I'm glad you asked. What tends to happen is, and this is true of most founders, I catch myself doing this as well, is we think we're the smartest people in the room. Your leadership team thinks we're the smartest people in the room. And so it's like, well, I'm just going to answer so that we can move on. I've got other stuff to do. And you come to the conversation with this idea of, I have the answers already. And then you have a leader who steamrolls everyone else. And it's like, I don't care what, the salesperson who's been working for us for a month thinks. I'm the CEO. I've been here for so long. I know this better. And what I usually tell people is, as the leadership team, if you are the CEO, you're the head of product, you're whatever, you shut the hell up. You don't say anything. You don't respond until other people do. And when they respond, even if you think it's wrong, do not dismiss it. And I see this from the technical side more because technical founders tend to be so embedded in the product, and they're a lot of times they're developers. They are the very logical, analytical, like, this is what it is. I've looked at the data. I know you haven't looked at the data, except they're the ones actually talking to the people buying from you. And so you may have looked at data, but they're actually talking to people that may possibly give you money. And so when it comes down to it, I would trust the people that are actually going to buy from me more than I would looking at data points and being disconnected from this. Yeah, that's great. That's what the data is showing you, but there's a change coming in the market and your data is historical. It's not where the market is heading. And so we do this. So when we do brand strategies, we do it workshop style. We get everyone in the room. We do some exercises with them. We're pulling out the information and we come across this issue. You've got CEOs that are well, here's what I think. And a lot of times I tell them, it's always fun for me to be able to do this. And this is why when a larger company hires us and it's a VP of marketing that hires us, they love us because most, especially technical CEOs or founders, they think they know everything. And so they do try to grab the conversation and say, this is how it should be. And as an outside company, and this is why sometimes it is healthier for a company to do this kind of stuff with an outside agency, is I can sit there and say, you're wrong. What are you going to do? Fire me? What are you going to do? Like, you cancel the contract, that's fine. I've got a plethora of other clients. I don't need your money, and we've done this before. We had a CEO that kind of came in and was like, this is how it is. And like his sales team was like, well, we've seen this. He's like, no, it's this way. And I sat there and I let him rant and rave. And then I was like, so actually you're wrong. This person's right. And here's how I'm going to show you. And it was received and this is bad on the leader side, but it was received from someone externally because you're paying me money to not be the yes man and be like, yeah, you're right. You're paying me the money to make sure we do this right. And so that's what I would tell a lot of leaders is shut up. And when someone does give an answer, like validate it, even if it's wrong, thank you for sharing that. Like, we didn't understand that. We didn't know that. We'll look into it more. Even if you're like, this kid is so freaking wrong. Like, it's not like validating it then builds this culture of I can come to you with insights and I can feel confident to come into these meetings, even if I am just a low level employee, and say to the CEO, this is what I'm seeing while I'm talking to our customers, or this is what I'm seeing on the customer service side. This is what we're seeing out there. What you're referencing is past. What we're seeing coming down is this. And it makes I tell founders this all the time, hire people who are smarter than you and get out of their way. Like, let them be smarter than you. Let them know what they're knowing. Trust them. And if you don't trust them, fire them and hire someone you trust. Because if you have to be the answer person, if you have to be the one that's always right, your business will stop and cap at your level of intelligence. And if you are more removed from your ideal customers, your intelligence will get lower and lower and lower as to what is actually happening in the market. And your company will suffer because of it. It is probably one of the biggest reasons we see that technical companies struggle is you've got a founder who thinks like they're super smart at what they do and not trying to, offend anyone. You're super smart at what you do, but you're probably also super dumb at understanding branding, marketing, and how to develop this with your ideal customers and know what they need and position yourself. And so if you always have to be right, your company will be capped at your abilities and you will never have the kind of employees who can take you to that next level. So for instance, here at Shift, when I started Shift, I was our brand strategist. I was the one doing the strategies and helping people come up with messaging. And then I started working with my co-founder or my partner now. And I tell people, he's the brand strategist you want to work with. He's smarter than me at this. Like, he has a much clearer defined system. He knows more. He sends it to me. I kind of like, yeah, I like this, or let's change this, or, whatever. But I'm like, because we'll have customers that are like, well, I want to work with you. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you want to work with Steph because he knows, like, if my knowledge is this, his knowledge is this. So who do you really want to work with? I'm just the face. You know me because I'm on LinkedIn more and I'm out there more, but he's the smarter one when it comes to developing the strategy and knowing how this works. So you want to work with him. And so when it comes to that whole side of the company, for me, it's like, I'll give my input, but you tell me what you want to do. You tell me what you're seeing. I'll give you some input. We'll come to a decision and we'll move forward. And that's how and because of that, we're now pulling in clients that pay 5, 6, 7 times more when I was the smartest one, when I was the brand strategist. And that's, from a founder standpoint, if you really want to grow, that's what you have to do. You're not the smartest person in the room. So shut up, let your team talk. And then as a group, you come to a decision and say, this is where we're going to move forward with these insights that we have.
Yeah. And this is really tough inside organizations, especially when you hear things reinforced about no one cares as much about your business as you do. So there's this narrative that's out there about no one cares as much about the business as you do. You know what? The reality is the people that you've brought into the organization deeply care about it because they've joined the mission. And if you can't figure out why they deeply care about it and give them the space to go out there and do all of the cool things, then what you've done is you've brought yourself into a command and control environment, and you've created an O-ring problem inside your organization. And the O-ring problem may lead to a space shuttle exploding or a rocket engine exploding because of some weather issues. And it happens over and over and over again because we're the smartest people in the room. We see how all of the dots start connecting. We fail to ask questions. We want to go really fast, and we lose track of accelerating speed to impact because we want to go fast. So what's a question that I, as a founder, or any founder that's out there, can ask themselves to say, am I falling into this trap that Jason has just described? Am I creating this environment? How can I be more self-aware through a question or two that might help that?
I think one of the biggest questions to ask is, when was the last time someone came to you with a contrary opinion than what you had? And how did you handle that? Like if you said, hey, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, and someone came in and said, well, I honestly think we should do this. If that has not happened, one, you have built a culture. It could mean that you're doing everything well and perfect, and there isn't a contrary opinion. Like, let's be honest, but that's going to be pretty rare. We're all human. We all have thoughts and opinions. Like, it's going to be rare that everyone on your team is like, yeah, let's go. This is awesome. If no one has ever come to you and said, I disagree, here's why, you probably have this commanding, like steamrolling, I'm not going to listen to or accept anything else but what I think. So that would be question number one. Question number two would be, how did you react when that happened? So if someone came to you and said, I know you have this desire to go this direction, but I really think we need to work here, or we need to develop this. If you're like, well, let's look into this and let's help me understand this more, like why this isn't me, like help me understand this, tells your team you are open to contrary opinions. You're open to actually growing the company and helping it become where it is. If you say, you know what, we don't have time for that, like this is more important, we're just going to do this, what you're doing is you're creating an environment that says, I don't care what you think, I'm doing it my way. And we've kind of like started talking about leadership and stuff, but here's where this kind of comes back to your brand. If you as a founder and a leader, whether you're C-level or, VP level, wherever you are in the company, if you cannot accept contrary opinion, if you are creating this environment where it's top down, we know everything, you're just the peons, do what we say, that's going to come through in your brand. And your clients, your customers are going to feel that, because what's going to happen is you've developed now a employee force that doesn't like what they're doing anymore. They don't feel heard. They don't feel appreciated. They don't feel like their expertise that they brought to the company matters. And so now when they're the ones interacting with your ideal customers are going to be like, this guy doesn't care. So why should I? This guy is flippant. why should I work with them? This guy isn't going above and beyond to try to get me because he doesn't feel appreciated anyways. He feels like he's just a peon. He was hired to be an expert, but now he's just a peon. Why should he care? And then all of a sudden, oh, he switched companies. Why do I want to work with this company if they can't even keep decent talent? And that's what founders don't realize is your brand, it is internal as well. And if you cannot develop a solid team of growth and like, hey, someone said this, so we need to address it, or like we have an ideal customer that feels like we didn't deliver. What are we going to like? If you cannot accept that internally, it will eventually bleed out and your ideal customers will see it. And whether they can put their finger on it or not, they'll feel it. They'll feel that this isn't a good company to work with. Like we all have those gut feelings sometimes where it's like, you sound good, but there's something going on. That's what's going to happen is your ideal customers are going to be like, you sound good, but there's just something I can't put my finger on as to why I shouldn't work with you. That's because you have taken people. And I kind of want to, I know we're kind of running out of time here really quick, but jumping into this idea of like, no one is as passionate about your business as you are is at a level, yes. Like as you get bigger, you hire a janitor. They're probably not as passionate about the business as you are. Like, let's be honest, there's going to be levels. But starting out, when you have like this core team, to think that you're the only one passionate about it. Now, you are probably the only one going to put extra hours into it, which then people say, well, that means I'm passionate because I'm willing to work 70 hours instead of 40 hours. Get that mindset out of your head because there are employees who maybe want a work-life balance and have a family, and your business is not their number one priority in their life, but it doesn't mean that they're any less passionate about it. Like I put in more hours into Shift than Steph does, but I would not look at Steph and be like, I'm more passionate about this than you are, because he's out there thinking of new ways to grow the business and stuff that I'm not. And you've got like, I was a head of marketing for a company for 7.5 years before I started Shift. And I was very passionate about seeing they're a client of mine now too. Like as I left and started Shift, they're a client of mine. I am still very passionate about them being successful because here's the truth. If you're an employee and your company is successful, guess who gets rewarded? The employees. I get a raise. If I'm passionate and I do well and I get results, I get a raise. I get a stake in like saying, I helped build this. There's passion there. And to say as a founder, no one's going to be more passionate about my company than I am is arrogant and stupid. You're going to build an environment, a culture in your company that says, I am the most important person here. You just do what I say. That mindset produces that environment, which then affects your brand, which then brings in less revenue, which then allows the competitor to rise up, do better than you, and you lose your clients because of it. Brand is everything.
It highlights how important brand and culture are as we look at this. Jason, awesome conversation. Where can people find out more about what you're working on? Where would you like to send folks?
I would say the biggest place would be LinkedIn. I post Monday through Friday, brand and content strategies and tips and all that to help you grow your business. The other place would be, we do an email newsletter every Monday where I take my LinkedIn content and go deeper. So if you want like more resources, more detailed, like how do I actually do this? That's in the email newsletter. That's at SHFT, SHFT, no I, SHFT.marketing/insider. You can subscribe there. And like I said, every Monday we send out strategies and resources to help you brand yourself.
Awesome. We'll include links in the show notes. If you know of someone who would enjoy this conversation, get value out of this conversation, start to shift their perspective because they're running into a number of the challenges that we talked through, please share it with them. Let Jason and I know this via LinkedIn. We like seeing those shares. Sales is a thinking process. Business is a thinking process. Life is a thinking process. How are you thinking differently about your process?